Welcome, welcome. Y'all still bogged down in there, James? They still bogged down in there? They still bogged down in the court. Welcome tonight. No particular agenda on this meeting tonight. I know, just want to see who was interested in doing the right thing in parks, you know, which is a passion, and not just the parks, but just the young folks and the old folks and myself and you and everybody that's around here. It's important that we do something about our parks. We know what position they're in. We know the condition that they're in, so we don't have to discuss that. This meeting is how can we move forward from this day to improve what we have in our parks. So I'll begin to open up the discussion. Whoever wants to start. Yes.
How many parks do we have and where are they? I don't even know.
All right. Well, we have give it history. We have Ruffner. We have Ellard. Ellard is the oldest. You know, it's a park down Ruffner Road. You familiar? Past Ruffner, it's down Ruffner Road.
Fluid engineering and the CSX entrance.
Correct. It's down there, and then we have Beacon, and then we have a couple of the. We have Triangle Park, which is right here, and then we have a couple of new green spaces now.
And we got the river walk.
And then we have the river walk, Ohio River and all that.
So
And then we have,
7.
And that new one in Roebuck Plaza.
We got a total of 7, I
Seven.
think.
It sounds like
I
8.
forgot about it.
yeah, those are not considered park, they're considered green spaces. Has a different terminology for parks and green spaces. So those are 2 green spaces. And the goal is the last 4 years to try to develop green spaces in every community. You know, that's one of the goals that we talked about in the past. To try to develop those green spaces in every neighborhood. You know, so that's where we are at the park. So we'll start, open discussion. Have a seat, you can have a seat. You can have a seat, there you go.
Are they used? Do we know how much each park is? Is there one park utilized?
Well, we
more than
know
another?
that Beacon gets a lot of use. We know that because it's the main park. It's been here all of my life. You know, I came here in 1984, and it was here before then. It's still there, still there. It was here when I got here, and it was one of the most. It's been one of the most used parks here, and that's the only large park that we have in the state of Irondale.
That's the one with the pavilions.
They
Yeah.
built that one
Yeah.
when they built that shopping center.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And the plans were, if you go back way back in the early 80s, in the research, the plan was for that park to extend where the senior citizen was and all the way across the street where the fire department is. There's some property behind the fire department, Irondale Homes. If you go down Senior View and make a right, it's a dead end there. There's plans that was drawn up way back when
This ain't here,
we came
John.
to Birmingham, to Irondale, to
Okay.
develop
Plan
all
right
of
there.
it. What Beacon was, the senior citizen was, there was gonna be a rec center where the senior citizen was. Across the street, there's gonna be parks, there's gonna be hiking trails, there's gonna be walking trails, and all that. We got the plan. Yeah, here's the plan right here. That, I think this was 1984.
So back
1982.
where the walking track is, John, as you go up the hill, there's a bunch of woods there.
Right.
Does the park
See that?
go past there?
Yes, that park goes all the way, come up with Beacon. Beacon you talking about?
No, as you go up the walking trail at Beacon Park.
Correct.
So if you're walking it, all this is woodsy.
On the
How
hill
far
there.
up that hill?
It goes all the way to the neighborhood, back Cornell Drive, goes to Cornell Drive there. There's a trail that kids use coming out of the neighborhood.
Well, I saw a trail, but I mean, I saw a cooler that was there for all day,
Yeah,
which I thought, well, that's a little kiddie.
yeah, they walk down there from the neighborhood, keep coming all the way around, they just walk down the hill, and they've made a trail down the hill. Would be a great mountain bike trail up in there, in the area, all of it. So that park has been there. My wife's parents been in this neighborhood over 40 years, and it's been there.
So is this one, and I don't mean to, is this one, or you talked about Ellard? Which one?
He's talking about Beacon right
Beacon.
I
now.
know, but
The one
I'm
you're talking
saying
about.
if you compared Ellard and Beacon, are they about the same size, or is
No,
Ellard
no,
smaller?
Beacon's probably 2 or 3 times the size of
Oh,
Ellard.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Eller's most of like sports. It's got years ago, old
Got a
council
football field up there.
put some goalposts out
Goals
there.
and some bleachers up there.
And there was the
What's there
whole
now,
goal.
though?
It's been used for football and practice for baseball.
The goal was to have a youth football field there. They put goals there, but there's no power out there. There's no lights.
So it's big enough for a football field?
Yes, it is.
Some people use it for soccer,
It's used for soccer.
soccer practice.
It can't be used at night, from what I understand. I guess the covenant, when that land was either sold or given over to the city, the owners who gave it over or sold it said that we don't want lights, because I guess they live in close proximity.
Yeah.
They don't want light pollution, so it can't be used at night or
There's
anything.
no lights out there.
Yeah.
So they
But no
can't use it.
playground equipment, nothing?
They
It's
have,
just
they
a-
have
just a
playground
big
equipment
green-
there, you know, it was outdated.
What's that?
They had to take it up. Had it
No, we're talking
inspected.
about Ellard overall.
The lawsuits and
Basically,
things,
First
we had-
Avenue
we had to
North,
take
if
it
you were to
out.
continue that around to Ruffin, it'd be on the left-hand side. But there's goalposts, there's bleachers, there's some grills, some post grills that are kind of in the woodlines. There are some picnic tables out there already. There's a fence that pretty much goes around the perimeter of it. And the thing we don't know really about Ellard totally is, I'm sure someone knows it, but as far as the improved area of it, we don't know exactly how much of the land extends around that. We don't really know how big that
Right.
spot is.
Yeah, it goes, I think the CSX own, if you drive them into the park there,
Mhm.
and you see those picnic barbecue grills on that side, I think they own that behind.
They own
it.
that area, okay.
Behind
Because it's
it.
pretty wooded, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
The guy from Fluid Engineers, he owns
Okay.
that, area where the picnic tables and grills
Right.
are.
Okay.
He actually owns everything on the hill that you climb up to go to the picnic tables.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
From the hillside over to the tables to his property.
Okay.
Right.
Some of it's been around for a long time. Help me out. This was done in '82,
Right.
so this is before my family ever got here in '78. But this is, I mean, I was born in '86, so I wouldn't remember any of this. But this is when Holiday Gardens was being built. This is right when it was being built, right?
Yeah, when I,
Actually, before, Holiday Garden was built
We lived there in
in
'72.
'70s, yeah. Holiday Garden was built in '70s, yeah, early '70s.
I bought my house on Scenic View in '71, and at that time, the Scenic View extended about 3/4 of a mile, and it dead end into the woods. And all of that was built, the Holiday Gardens, except for Scenic View and what's in Birmingham,
Right.
was built in the mid to late '70s.
Right.
They put in the Walmart while they were shopping center up there in the late '70s, and that's when the
Yeah.
city built the park.
Right.
So
See,
this was in the late
Scenic View,
70s.
that Scenic View Drive right there,
Yeah.
that's that dead end. See, all that plan was parks. See that? See
Where
how
would-
far it goes?
Is this where Beacon would have been, John?
That's Beacon right there.
Beacon Park right here at
Yeah,
the top.
This is
of that?
Beacon right here.
That's where the park is.
Yeah, that's it right there.
So there was a plan down from Beacon towards the Walmart to have a recreation center and an
That's the old senior
amphitheater.
citizen, that's where the senior citizen is right there. And that's the rec center there.
That's a rec center and amphitheater. This is from '82 when it was originally being built.
Right,
Biggest neighborhood in Irondale.
that's correct.
My question is, so there's parks here, green space, fire station.
Walking trails, bike trails.
We have a very, very developed plan for parks and recreation that did not happen.
That's right.
So why? That's my question.
That's
Why didn't this, that looks fantastic. I wish that was there when I was a kid growing up.
Be awesome.
Why didn't that happen?
That's a good question. And that was before all of us, I think.
Yeah.
And that's the, this is also, because there's that trail that heads out all the way into Birmingham, right? When you start going down Elder, there's that little park, doesn't it peel off and it goes along the spine of the mountain?
Yeah,
Down towards-
that could be, yeah.
Yeah,
On the
that's-
backside of the scenic view right
Yeah,
there.
exactly, yeah.
Mhm. That's right.
It's just the infrastructure is not all there that you're seeing, but there is still some stuff
That's correct.
that is there.
On the backside of it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So that would have been all connected to
Mhm.
that trail, if that would have happened. That would have happened. But see, that's the fire station still there,
Yeah.
basketball courts. I think that's 10.
John, look at the bottom right-hand corner, it's a date 12 something.
1982.
'82.
There you
Yeah.
go.
How did it get? Why didn't it get built? Does anyone know?
Do what?
Does anyone know why it didn't get built? I mean, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
So it comes down to money.
I was living, my family moved to Irondale in '60, so when I was a kid, where that shopping center was a big hole in the ground, and there were houses all back in there, old houses. Irondale was an old mining town back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and these were houses and a school and everything from way back when. Right there, and I mean, when I say hole in the ground, it was, you drive up Grants Mill Road and you have maybe 50, 100 feet down, you can still see rooftops.
So of course, my question, I think all of us, as at our age now, I think all of us as young children, grandkids, would enjoy something like that. I think all of us could agree that we really would have enjoyed that. So my question is, why can't we enjoy something like that in the future?
Well,
And how can we get that?
with that plan right there, you'd have to, you're gonna have to cross Beacon Drive, because Beacon Drive wasn't there when that was put together.
Well, it's dead ends right
Well,
there, see there?
Yeah, well,
It just did.
yeah, well,
Right.
you know, when I bought the house on Scenic View,
Right.
Scenic View wasn't but 3/4 of a mile long.
Right.
And you go past the pavement, and it was just all dirt through the woods.
That's correct.
You could get through there, but it was no more than a horse trail or something.
Right.
But Beacon Drive wasn't there.
Right.
And that's probably when that was designed before Beacon Drive was extended.
It's had a
out,
little
Grants
piece of
Mill.
Beacon Drive right there, see that?
This looks like this is the
Yeah,
flyover.
serious
Am
stuff.
I mistaken? Was there a flyover intended? Because it looks like there is a bridge over in this depiction. There's a bridge
Yeah, that's
over
right.
because there's a light pole sitting right in the middle of it that had a flyover design
To go
for it.
to
You
one.
can see it. It kind of winds around to the flyover and over.
Right. So it's a pretty good plan, but it's 1982, but, you know, my thing is, this is what I've been fighting. You know, it's something like this for Irondale to enjoy, to myself to enjoy, for my grandkids, for everybody's family to enjoy. This is some of the things that we've been discussing, and we're just trying to figure out how can we get to that part, because we all agree that we would really enjoy if you had something like this. This is something for this piece, if it was built, had something for everybody. You know, you had your tennis courts, you had your outdoor basketball courts, you had your rec center there. You know, you had your picnic area, your playground. You know, it has the walking trails, and you know, right there. And then it's like he said, it connects to the trail down Elwood. Eventually, would have connected to the trail down Elwood.
Does that show the fire station on there? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with working with what we have now, with the area of Beacon Park, the Cahaba River Landing,
Correct.
Ellard Park, and the baseball park, Ruffner Park.
Right.
Those would probably be the four main areas that we could focus resources on to bring something in. You know, with the Cahaba Landing, I'm not sure who owns all the land around that little cut we have going down to the thing, but if somewhere along the lines we could require a little more property back up the hill or back away from the river a little bit, so that you could have a few more amenities and stuff there, you know, that would be a plan to focus on. The ballpark, you know, we've got every opportunity in the world to do whatever we want to with that. Once again, it comes down to getting the resources to do it, putting in a rec center there, refurbishing some of those fields, you know, putting something in there, an indoor basketball court or something along those lines. Maybe even a splash pad. I mean, that might be something that Ellard Park, if we could put resources into that, having that as a nice little community park with splash pads, some pavilions, cookout stuff, and it may even still have enough room for, you know, a soccer field or a football field.
Right.
Let me just mention, so you mentioned a couple of times resources. Do we have any money in our budget for parks or parks improvement? Or is that
Not
tied
this,
to public?
not this size project.
No, just in period.
What is our
Yeah,
budget?
Short
on that?
answer, there's like $49,000 that was put in the budget for a park master plan.
Right.
That would probably be the closest thing resembling to that as far as what you're asking.
Right.
That was more in line for a master plan. We talked about that at one of our meetings. Got some further explanation of what that actually meant, you know, after the fact, and they wanted to take a comprehensive inventory of our parks and our green spaces, and which, you know, I'm kind of like, well, we already sort of know what our parks and our green spaces are. But they wanted to do a very comprehensive study to see about how they could tie all these pieces of property together through consistent branding. Okay, if we're going to put a bench in a park, and we're going to put a bench in another park, it's all going to be consistent. A lot of their information they were going to try to put together should have been beneficial to grant writing material. They were going to put a lot of statistics into that master plan. And you know, a lot of stuff that speaks to when you start asking for money from the community foundation, because community foundation, they love individual plans, that's great, but when community foundation can come in and apply money to a master plan, they're looking at, okay, how many properties does this affect?
Right.
So that was kind of really what that study was trying to be geared towards, and but that, to answer your question, $49,000 for the park master plan.
And so,
But
and so
that's-
given the current situation, I'm sorry.
No,
yeah.
So, I mean, because we're kind of talking at a high level. We know we have different parks. We know some should take priority over others, but from the standpoint of, as you said, from a funding standpoint, it's always good if you can fund, you know, multiple things all in one particular
Sure.
grant, and you can kind of phase it. So did we just step away from looking at a master plan for the parks because of funding, or
Yeah,
or is there a new plan?
I you know, kind of understanding it on the front side,
Mhm.
and then understanding really what they were trying to drive for on the back side. Two different kind of conversations, but when you start looking at where our budget is at as a whole, yeah, sure, we might have money allocated for it,
Mhm.
but just because money is allocated and you technically have funding for something, okay, where's the funding coming from?
Mhm.
You know, okay, we've got cash to spend in this bucket, but when you start looking at shortfalls in other buckets, you start having to say, okay, are we going to start moving things around from an economic standpoint to patch some holes? So yes, there might be a bucket of money over here, but do we really need to spend said bucket of money because we've got issues over here?
And based on the audit report that we were given,
Yeah.
our so-called money in the bank is basically debt. It is not true money. It is money we owe, so we don't have a cash source to do much of anything right now. As the mayor pointed out, there is a municipality bigger than ours that for half of what we've got in debt are thinking about declaring bankruptcy.
It's a whole county.
Yeah, the whole county
Whole
basically.
county's
county?
not going in.
And
Well,
so we've got to be
Half
very
of it,
creative on how we approach anything we do, because there's not a pool of money sitting there that you can dip a bucket in and pull out money to do these type projects.
Yeah.
Let me just say one thing. We have about $10 million in the bank as we speak.
Mhm.
The money that we have in the bank is not debt.
Okay?
It's actual money that belongs to gas tax funds,
Mhm.
general fund reserve, E911. So that money that we have in the bank is not debt. It's actual money that can be used.
Can I
Or
ask
do
you a
we
quick
need
one?
that to satisfy some of the debt and to offset some of these excess costs we've run into with what we're having to pay back on the automobile? That's the only thing I'm worried about, James. We're in a tenuous
No,
situation
I just
where
wanted to say that.
money like that
Right.
may be there, but we've got things that offset it that are bigger than what this is. The grant approach is a great way to look at it.
Exactly.
I think that's the way. We gotta find some fresh
Okay.
ways to get money in.
So do we plan to look at that? I mean, because grants,
Well,
from a
there's-
comprehensive plan standpoint, there are grant funding, and, you know, when you talk to Community Foundation, they not only look at parks, you got CBDG grants out there for infrastructure and a host of other things. I know a couple of years ago, we had a grant writer. I don't know if we've had one in the last few years, and one of the things with the plan, the comprehensive plan is a great source when you're going out to get grants. You can kind of point to that document as this can justify it, so.
And that talk's out there.
Yeah,
To
so-
finally get a consolidated grant writer, not one that's doing
Just
fire
fire.
department, one that's doing police. You know, find somebody that does grants and even looks for grants,
Mhm.
rather than us always coming up with something. But I think there's a way to do it, a very logical way. Even enlisting organizations like the Scouts, because you've got a lot of Eagle Scouts that need projects. Just think what you can get out of them.
Exactly.
So there are gonna be ways to do it. We just gotta be creative on how we do it.
I wonder if we have anyone in the business world that could speak, because, you know, I was philosophy, theology, you know, education. Someone in this room is probably a business person. That when businesses are looking to tell people looking for investments for bonds, how risky a project is. What's the system that they go about communicating this municipality's this amount of risk? And what's Irondale's current assessment in terms of the risk of getting a bond to Irondale? Are we highly rated in terms of
We are
like
currently
we're
highly
credible, or
rated, but we haven't had to go back into the market since we got the latest audit report.
I mean, we have,
Okay.
We have a
we
good, we have a
good
good
credit
rating right
rating.
now.
It might not be good in the future.
We have a
Right.
top, we have a top
got
rating.
to
But that would just be
Rating.
adding debt on top of the current debt, which
Right.
would definitely affect your bond rating.
You know, you can have $200,000 worth of credit card debt on you, and if you make your payments all the time, yeah, you're gonna have a nice credit rating. But if you go to buy a house, they're gonna look at you and go, yeah, you got 200 grand in debt over here.
Right.
You know, you're gonna be a little bit of a risk, and that's how businesses would look at it as a
And again, don't get me
Risk.
wrong, I'm not saying it can't be done, we're just gonna have to be creative on how we come up with a
Right.
way to do it.
And we have a very low property tax here in
Yeah.
Irondale, which is
Well,
a
thanks.
good thing and a bad thing. Good thing, it attracts businesses, attracts people coming here, living here. You know, when you got a 6.5 mil property tax here versus a 38 in Mountain Brook, you know, that's a huge difference. But we get less than $1 million a year from property tax, James?
Yes.
Yeah, less than $1 million a year
Wow.
for property taxes. And so, and with a $16 million budget, you know, it's not a drop in the bucket, but it's only a 16th of what we have as for expenditures every year.
Well, if it's our city and we want to get the green space and all, then I think as citizens, we need to look at, you can't get it for free.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm gonna live
Yeah.
here, why, I'd pay more property tax, and that came up in the Irondale on the Move.
Sure did.
People were
Right.
willing to have higher property tax to have better
Yeah.
amenities.
Well,
It's not
I
free.
guess I can say this, and past 3 years, we've been working on a plan. And I think we've got it. I think we got the plan. If the council allow me to present it, then I'm gonna present a plan to hopefully we can do whatever we need. And it's gonna be more than parks.
Also, I just want to make a point about a grant writer. I don't know what you're doing in terms of either reaching out to someone, but Commercial Development Authority, we actually met with a young lady who at the time, which I think this goes back to February, at the time, this young lady is the only person in the state of Alabama that has a professional grant writing certification. And that certification came around, I think she told us it came out in 2006 because you had a lot of people out here saying, oh, I'm a grant writer, when really what they were doing is going on the internet, Google searching just like all of us can. And so they had to put some regulation to professional grant writers. This young lady is the only, in February, she was the only person that had the certification. So I would love to offer her up to you all and.
What would her services cost us?
I don't know.
Well, it depends on the scope of the project.
But, right, the scope of the project. But it would be better to have a certified individual because you may get in all that service, not only the writing of the proposal, but the proper way to do it and the network of people that she's already done the business for. She knows what to look for, she knows what to go after. So if her tag was $5 more than somebody else's, I wouldn't mind paying the additional $5 to not have to go out and outsource 6 or 7 other people to get what we ultimately looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, in any industry and stuff, you know, it's if you've got folks that have put the time and effort into getting quote certifications and stuff and everything, you know, that helps. But like in the computer industry, we used to call them paper CNEs. You can take a test and get a certification, but if you've never touched a computer, it doesn't do you any good.
No, this
So,
isn't that. This
yeah.
is more like.
Is that Kim Richardson?
Yes.
That you referred to?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
she's
she's running grants worldwide. I mean, she's
Yeah.
done work
Yeah.
in Africa, millions of dollars for the city of Birmingham
Yeah.
and throughout. But
And that grant writer can touch different areas of the city too. You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
whether it was this, whether it was police, fire, just the city as a whole, I think could benefit from someone who knew where to look for funds and knew how to write the proper proposals.
Well, she was excited from the standpoint of a city our size. The plan, the comprehensive plan would be her Bible. She said she can sell that. She can just kind of look at each element of the plan, and then, you know, at the back of the plan, it give you some grant sources. And she said that would really make it much easier than she would with even some larger cities, because it's pretty much laid out. And again, the key is knowing where to look, knowing how to apply. It's kind of like nonprofit status. If you do it right the first time, you're not going back and forth answering questions. So.
Just my opinion, but I think it'd be, if we could scrape some cash out of a coffer somewhere, you know, we've given other grant writers a shot at trying to do things and really hadn't had that much success, but, you know, if this lady comes highly recommended and,
It's a
Tricia,
good
I
place to
think,
put our money.
Tricia, you probably know this pretty well. A lot of times, I think grant writers can actually write their fee into the grant request.
So it is against ethical rules for a
Okay.
grant writer to get paid on a percentage of what they get in a grant.
Right.
It's against the ethical fundraising rules.
Trying to remember why I
So-
was thinking that. There was a different way of compensation, I believe. Maybe it was in the follow-through.
We paid the lady in Atlanta $5,000 a quarter or something
Right.
like
It
that.
was $12,000 a year.
How much?
$12,000 a year.
Okay. So
Was
we
it in
paid
the-
her once a quarter.
Was in the follow-through of implementation measurement or something like that on the backside?
On the impact,
Yeah.
I'd have to look at it
Okay.
and see on that. My question was, can you do a flat rate, and I don't know the answer to this. Can you do a flat rate for number of grants
Mm.
sought out and applied for? Because when we looked at the contract for the current, or the grant writer that was here, and she's only been gone about 6 months, she was only, she was only charged with writing grants that the city brought to her.
Okay.
So she did no grant research and look for grants.
Yeah.
So consequently, if the police or fire department found one, they sent it to her.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Right.
And then you have different types. You got federal grants, state
There's all
grants,
kinds
and
of
they
grants.
all require a certain amount of follow-up.
Yeah, there's all different kinds of grants.
Yeah.
So CDBG, and there's a CDBG grant right now. You guys just voted to pay an additional
Mhm.
up to $20,000 on that to increase the senior center. I mean, federal grants, you've got CDBG is another one. Most of the other ones that I know are all HUD funded.
Right.
And CDBG is HUD funded as well, but it has a wider variety than just housing.
there's a Tiger
You got
Fund
government
also
Yes, there-
for
and there's-
roads and transportation.
corporate grant.
There's all kinds of funding through ADECA. There's Appalachian Trail, which actually this falls into that area.
Rails to trails,
And
there's
there's-
a lot out there, but.
Yeah, there's all kinds of grants out
But
there.
nobody's
But
looking
what
for
you
'em.
need is somebody
To find them.
is
Yeah.
to find them.
Exactly.
And I think, and to take the time to do them.
Mm.
And I think there's much more incentive to find them
Mhm.
if you're paid based on findings.
Sure.
Right.
And so I don't know, I'd have to look into that and see. Charles actually knows more of the fundraising ethical stuff than I do, because I don't do fundraising. But, you know, I think that that's a possibility, but I also think that instead of putting, and I know Kim Richardson, I think she's great.
Okay.
You know, I think that you should look and see what's out there too. I mean, she's fantastic and she's certified, but that doesn't mean that she's the only good grant writer out there. And the one that was under contract was in Atlanta, and that hurts you. She knows nothing about Irondale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So there's some benefits to that too. And I'm not saying that she wouldn't be the best one out there,
Mhm.
but I think it's hard to just put all your eggs in one basket and not look and see what is available.
Yeah, and I know, you know, like Community Foundation, you can apply for various grants to them, and they've got an amount of time that they'll actually coach you through how to
Right.
write their grants. You can
That's
send them
correct.
stuff that say, okay, fix this, reapproach, fix this,
That's correct.
reapproach. So you don't have to be necessarily a grant writing expert to apply for some of these grants. Alabama Power's got a grant that you can write, and it's like a 2-page document. So
There's
you
a
know,
lot of corporations
Yeah.
around here that do
A lot
it.
of
I mean,
foundations.
Daniel Corporation does grant, there's all kinds of foundations that do grants. Whether they do grants for municipalities, I don't know, cause it's
Yeah.
a little bit of a different kick.
Mhm.
But that's,
So
I
have we
mean,
ever looked at, has the committee ever looked at corporate grants or any of these other grants where we could get funding?
We hired a grant writer.
Other than the grants writer.
Other than this lady in Atlanta a few years ago, and paid them, and never got anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying, have
No,
any of the
no.
committee members gone out and Googled and researched corporate grants or anything?
I think Daryl can speak to the fact that just about every time we've done a larger business on Business of the Month, they've always said, if you ever need us, talk to us. And I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
mean,
just
yeah,
more a
I think
matter
that's-
of
and that's-
following some
That's a
things.
big element, the
That
public-private
makes sense.
partnership. I mean, you have companies, they'll be just as invested to invest because the return that they'll get.
Well, why don't we start,
will be
why
twofold.
don't we start the ball rolling with them and get them involved in the park stuff? Because if they're involved, and this is where their business is, to me, they're gonna open their billfolds more than us just asking for a check.
well, and I think if you look at things like the Rotary Trail,
Mhm.
that has a corporate sponsor.
Mhm.
That's not just done out of grant funds.
Yeah.
And you've got Price Hightower, it benefits him.
He's
to
already
help
said
do
that he
parks.
would help the community in various projects.
I mean, you've got Reeves Construction, you've got all kinds of businesses here who might like to get their name on something.
I think
you
what
know?
you're
I
ultimately
mean,
trying to
they're
get to,
alive.
John, is we have to have a plan, we have to have agenda items, action items, we have to have things prioritized. So, you know, when we go asking for this or searching for this, once we find it, now we know what we're gonna do with it, or we're gonna be able to present that and say, this is what we want to do.
So does that plan come here, or do we, you know, we had a lady, like I said, that's gonna do the comprehensive plan for us, and, we did a lot, in 2 years, come to get to that point.
Yeah,
You know, that's where we are. It's been 2 years in this room, interviewing different people to get to that point, and found out she was the best qualified. Councilman Mike was here at the time, and found out she was the most qualified to do the job.
yeah,
So I think she can help us with that piece of it.
Yeah.
And that's the point I'm trying to get to. She can help us with that piece. So all of us don't be out there spinning our wheels when she can do it. And all she gotta do is come back with the plan, and then we just work the plan. It's like the comprehensive plan,
mhm.
same thing.
I know I just had sticker shock when I saw the, you know, the $50,000.
You know, it's 50,000, she said this, it's $50,000 is a, if you think of $50,000 as a debt or just $50,000,
Yeah.
then we're missing the whole point.
Yeah.
I think we're missing the whole point.
Now, when we toured the thing at the League of Municipalities, there were a bunch of state agencies in the back. And there were several things I picked up and I passed them on, but there may be some state agencies out there that offer some of this capability for us, kind of like we did with the regional out of Birmingham to get the comprehensive plan.
And
much
There's
less
also some dollars
cost.
out there that would, there's, being planning and analysis dollars.
Right.
You could get a portion of even her fee picked up, by certain agencies. I think ADECA had something like that as well. But again, I think what we're saying is, and it's awesome, we got some great ideas kicking around. We just gotta think about things in a different way and outside the box, but we have to have some level of priority too.
Right.
Yeah, but we've already got all the information from the comprehensive plan about our green spaces, our parks, and everything else. We know what we have out there. I mean, I would see taking that $50,000 and putting it towards a grant writer to get money to go into these things a better investment than hiring somebody to say, all right, you got some green spaces and parks, and here's what you can do. We have a pretty good idea of what we can do with them. We already got all that information together.
Yeah, I think that, and the sticker shock, I mean, I had it as well, but I think what they also bring to the table is the maximum use of your space. You know, you can have a space, and then you just start putting stuff in it, but I mean, the design, the layout, the you know, to quote the best stewards, how does it impact?
Right, and if we were in a
stormwater?
better position, we could go in and say, we're gonna do this, this, and this at these 4 parks here, but we're not in that position. I mean, we've gotta be able to scrounge up resources in order to go into them, and instead of saying, well, we've only got this much resources here, and we're gonna take that, and stick it here, here, and here, we could take that, get some added resources added to it from a competent grant writer type, make that a little bit bigger, and go, boom, Ruffner Park. Baseball fields, rec center, boom, it's done. What's our next target? Let's go over here, get this one here, let's go this one here.
Yeah, Patricia, I don't know, did you guys revisit Leanne? I mean, what is her approach in terms of segmenting, I guess, the master plan in terms of, so if we know that our priority parks are Ruffner, Ellard, or whatever, I guess a scaled down approach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's a bite-sized approach. Her comprehensive plan, it was my understanding that there was no design in it.
There was no design in it?
There was no design in
No,
it.
there
It
was
was
no
just
design.
deciding what your land spaces were and what the best use of those land spaces were.
No.
So, I mean, that would be,
thought it
I
had-
would wonder if
I thought
you-
it had design, and I
There's no
thought she
design
was,
element in there.
thought she was
There's
also
no
looking
design.
at gateways.
no, she was
said that
gonna
that was
identify
a
the
part of it.
gateways, but
Okay.
I don't think that was part of it, and you guys can back me
So-
up.
I
on
remember
that's
her
in the-
saying her,
and that's
they
on the-
could
on
come
their
back
move.
and we
It's in
could
there.
hire them to design
Right.
something
Mhm.
on these green spaces that they identified and categorized and.
So in line with David and Ron, because I've heard both of you make this point before, and I think it's valid, that if these areas have already been laid out in the comprehensive plan, designated, then who, out of all of us sitting here, assuming we are the group, is gonna actually sit down and put those pieces together so that when we do get with that grant writer or the necessary individuals for funding, we're able to speak a unified message. Because I think that when we're talking about that master plan,
Yeah.
ultimately that gives us a unified message. All of us who serve in any leadership capacity, and even those of us who are just citizens, you all are stakeholders, and you all are simply agents of the city as well. That unified message to whoever we're talking to
Yeah.
has to be put together in a very professional, concise, brief way so that we can articulate the proper message. So I think that was the whole idea behind the master plan. So if we're not gonna do that,
I get you. Yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
I know, I get that. She brought a lot of,
Okay.
when she was talking about it, a lot of the language she was speaking to was this comprehensive plan is going to tie it all together and kind of, I'm going to give you material to write grants with. And you know, that's not what I heard in the kind of the beginning, that's kind of what I heard towards the tail end. And that was very interesting to me, but I still think, I guess I still have I mean, probably have to see the information to really understand the value of what's coming forward, but kind of like what Ron's saying, we already have we know what we have. If we were to focus a priority like this park is our priority, okay, now this wonderful person who is going to come in and do this citywide plan, can we just focus, you know, do this plan for this one park, do your design work, tell us how this one park can be optimally designed, and then kind of take that information and apply for a grant for that one piece. Because another thing we have to understand is with grants awarded come matching. So, okay, great, we get all this money to do this park, and they say, okay, well here's 75% or here's 80% or 60% of that money. Now, city, you've got to find the rest. So if we start coming up with these big, huge grants for these master plans, the amount that we have to contribute becomes exponentially larger, as opposed to, you know, focusing on one park at a time, getting a great design that would help us write that grant, and then coming up with that bite-sized match as we move through the process.
I'm
That's
curious
kind of where I'm
So
coming from.
what I'm hearing is you want to take each part one by one and come up with a plan for each part, and then go out and present that and try to get grant money from that part.
That's what I think is I'm not saying I'm right. That's what I
No,
think
I'm-
is the
I'm
best
agreeing- I'm
option.
agreeing with
Yeah.
Or was
Because-
it
because,
master plan and then implement one?
No, I think we have a very good idea of what our inventory is.
Yeah.
We have to pick, I think we should pick a park and say, okay, all right, mister, instead of paying you $50,000 to identify everything and tie the whole master plan together, we want to focus on this one piece. We could have a master plan ourselves of what we possibly want to do and try to accomplish. Probably not as detailed as what she would have prepared, but say, okay, this is kind of our master plan. This is what we've designated as the priority. Let's hire you to do this one thing. And then once we get that going, we can kind of move on to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing.
So what if I tell you that I have that at Ruffner and I have that at, would you be agreeable with that?
It's good work. I mean,
So-
I'd like to see what you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get together.
And have we talked to our friends at Stuart Perry, since they're in the city and they have a bang-up design team.
I'm sure they'd love to participate.
To get them involved
Yeah.
and maybe not spend money on another individual
Sure.
where they may be willing to do something as part of the city, if that makes sense.
LEED
They sh-
certified building, fantastic
Right.
facility.
And they definitely do extremely good work.
Really good work.
But again, John, I think the term grant, and don't forget corporate sponsors.
Sure.
I still think there's an egg sitting out there somewhere that we haven't pulled out of the nest.
Yeah.
And somebody like Motion Industries or one of the big guys, they could easily do a lot of this for us if we could get them engaged.
And you apply to
Because
those
they sure seemed
corporates.
enthusiastic when we were at the
Yeah.
awards.
And you reach out to those corporate partners and you kind of talk to them, you can talk to them first and say, here is our plan.
Right.
You know, if we get this grant, we're going to need matching funds. Would you be willing to contribute to that match? So then you get the grant, and then a big part of getting the grant is going, I can prove to you that I've got a portion of this matching fund, and that makes the grant even more easier to get.
And we got all these big car dealerships, I mean, if this has been going on, has anybody reached out to these businesses and said, you know, we'd really like you to help with the design here in Irondale?
They might really
Well,
get
well,
it.
Ms.
I haven't-
Ms. Lynn, we haven't specifically, like on the CDA side, we haven't gone in and said, we need you to help us specifically with parks. But when Daryl and I go around doing our Business First program, we go around doing our Business of the Month program, every time the businesses have said, we had no idea we had a voice in the city. So Daryl and I have a list, we can,
So if that's
tomorrow, we
been
can.
going on, why haven't they been involved?
Well, we hadn't given them a reason to get involved,
I mean, right.
to get involved on.
So this is why I'm saying, this is why I'm
Something
saying, for what David and what Ron have said, we really, if we're not gonna go with Leanne McNally to do
No,
a
I'm
match.
not even talking about the parks. If they say they didn't know they had a part in the
Well,
city.
Terry Spitzer, she
Why not?
lives here in Birmingham area, or Mountain Brook, of
Mhm.
course. And he's been open toward the city, but Sonic, they're in Charlotte, North Carolina,
Right.
and they're tight on their wallet, and
And see, the same thing with Norfolk Southern. They're having an issue that they sit in Irondale, but they're listed in their home office as a Birmingham business. So we can run across the track all we want and scream and holler. They can't make a decision in that office. It comes out of Virginia.
Right.
But to answer your question and to stick to what you're saying, it's just a matter of us having a unity of purpose.
And I'm not just talking about the parks
I
in
know.
general, I'm talking about any of the
I'm,
businesses.
yeah, I'm talking about everything. See, when Daryl and I are talking to them, we are talking about the entire city. And what we find is that if you talk to somebody about the lane they want to play in, they're more subject to engage and give you money because that's what they think is best. And so the public-private partnership works very well. So that conversation is going on all the time.
So
But
what
we-
lanes, I mean, I've never heard any feedback from any of these businesses where a business says, you know, I'm really interested in downtown or the Historical Society.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're interested in fixing up downtown, then why hasn't that,
What I'm hearing, tell me if I'm hearing you right, but
Okay.
you're saying we've got to have a comprehensive plan with items. Because if we don't have a comprehensive plan that we've agreed on with items, then we can't go to people with grants or businesses or partner with anyone. You're not empowered to say, this is what we've agreed upon, where do you want to invest? Right? I mean, if there's
Well-
not a comprehensive plan,
Right.
then
We have a comprehensive plan. We have, I'm sorry. Oh, no, we have a comprehensive plan. That's Irondale comprehensive plan. We have categories and areas for anyone to play in those areas. What we've got to do as a total community, City Hall, CDA, Chamber, community, we've got to have unity of purpose so that our messaging, when we go out, we can say, parks and, like for instance, I can go out tomorrow and say, we had a great meeting, parks and green spaces, and there's some areas that we really need to fund. How do you all see that? And then let them tell you. But we have a list of people that we've already built relationship with, and we just have to be able to articulate that message, not as a bunch of individual people, but as a collective unit. That's what people go after. When I talked to Reeves Construction, they said, you don't know how important what you're saying is because people come to us, all these, the schools come to them and ask for money. People, a comprehensive way of them putting $50,000 towards something and it touches 3 different areas, that matters more to them from a business standpoint because they could pull that from marketing dollars, they might be able to pull it for charitable contribution dollars. So we just have to continue, talking to them.
And I hear
Mhm.
what you're saying, and I'm probably just being dumb.
No, you're not. No.
Is if there is, we developed the comprehensive plan and we've got that, and you're saying you've built relationships,
Mhm.
why aren't those relationships then now being involved?
You have to nurture them.
Yeah, right. So we that's what we're doing. That's what we're out nurturing those relationships. We're building them. So we just have to get to it. Yes.
So if
And
we
I
can
agree
come,
with you totally, because I think companies and individuals are very generous. They just need guidance.
Right.
right, we
And
need to come up with a
we're
plan.
the guiding,
Mhm.
these people here are the guiders.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's just like, we need to come up with a project, just like we did for the fundraiser for the benches for Beacon Park. We had a project, we were gonna do this right here, and we got a great, we made that $2,000 in 2 weeks. I mean, it was like that.
But Ron, the only difference with that, great from just a group of people, community coming together
Mhm.
and moving forward on something. But from the business community, that doesn't resonate as well.
I had Hightower come to me on it.
But that's one business. We're talking
Right.
about the business community.
Exactly, and if
So-
I'd gone out and hit businesses along the streets and stuff, I'm pretty sure we could have gotten a lot more.
And that's what
And
I'm
that's
saying,
the
Ron.
part
from-
where I'm
from-
saying I'm
from-
confused is why we're not.
Right, so-
I'm hearing the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm
see-
hearing y'all say very similar things. Here's why.
Let's come up with a plan, let's come up with a project that we wanna do. We wanna make Ruffner Park into a multi-sports facility out there. You may already have this with your plan that you have coming up. A couple of years ago, you had a very nice presentation out there. Let's unify that, figure it out, and get it and set, and get us something that we can go to these businesses and say, hey, we want to do a top-notch recreational center for Irondale, and we need your help. We need your
And that's
support.
what, and you said, and you also said, they both said, it has to be a unified plan where all of us are talking the same thing. And that's the only thing about the benches, it wasn't unified.
Well, the benches thing was just a kind of a grassroots whole.
It has to be a unified.
And everybody,
Deal.
I do want to
Yeah,
say this
everybody be the
to
same
all of
page.
us as well.
Right.
Obviously, we've had some either miscommunication, some misunderstanding, and then that stuff makes its way out to social media. And I'm telling you, I'm walking and talking to the business people, it makes a difference.
It makes a
We
big
may not
difference.
think it because we're not seeing it up close,
Makes a big difference.
but to the degree that we've got to have unity of purpose, we've got to stop letting our world wind up on social media in a negative way. We really do. We've got to find a way to have a message that is told properly, because by default, I don't care what you're talking about on social media. I don't care what group you're going out to. It's by default, it's going to divide.
Well,
And when
it's
business-
also
and when the-
videoed and people saw it, so, yeah.
Well, true. But
And
my-
so
but my
people
point
throwing
is-
out comments.
But my point is, if all of us who are the leaders of the city, the recognized leaders, the mayor, the city council, the CDA, the chamber, if we have the unified message, then the fringes start going away. They get erased because we're all together. If we're not together, the business community sees it, and they've seen it before. They've seen it in previous administrations, and so they're not going to jump up and say, Terrence, I'm not going to give you money because the new administration is divided. They're just going to sit back and say, okay, let's wait and see what
Well,
happens.
it sounds like to me, y'all just need to go to lunch.
I think
Amen. I'm with you.
Or
I'm
this,
with you.
or this, right? Because here's what I've observed being here: that everybody is chiming in, everybody's got ideas, and everybody said, "Hey, here's a plan for parks. Let's figure out how to do it."
Right.
And we've brainstormed about grants, we've brainstormed about community involvement, grassroots things. How can we do it through a comprehensive plan? But I've heard a lot of people talking in one accord, trying to figure out how to get this done, which is just getting in the same room and talking.
And then we seem to have an awesome guy, right, that's a citizen that's doing the same thing, so thank you.
And you doing, the same thing, and
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
y'all please let Patricia talk?
I'm sorry, Patricia.
She's just patiently
Hey,
waiting.
look, Tricia didn't get voted in.
I didn't
They're
get
gonna-
voted
they're
in.
gonna
I
hold
couldn't
us.
But she
even-
is a citizen.
Hey, they're gonna
Patricia, you
bake
got
us.
hold.
They're gonna bake us
Thanks for
council.
coming.
They're not doing what we need to do.
So speaking from the mayor's office, although I wasn't voted in, I would
You
think
can
that,
leave at any time.
But we like you anyway.
Yeah, we like you. We gotta
you
take
know,
3 years.
can't leave it in.
Go ahead.
So Irondale on the Move, which is coming out, and that is the advisory committee has already offered up some smaller pieces. They were called bites
Right.
on things that they could enact to show some visible, manageable change. There's a survey monkey that is about to come out with those things to go to the entire public that we can get to get some input on those. What if we added a question to that saying, out of these parks, which one do you think should be the next focus? If you want community engagement and you
That's a
want
good
people to
idea.
get involved, that's one way to do it. And then there is a town hall that is about to be announced for August 10th, where then those things could be additionally talked about on a wider scale. So that can be added, because it hasn't been sent out yet, the Survey Monkey, that can be added. And what has happened is all the bites that came from the advisory committee were put on there, and it's going to be asked of the residents to rank those, to tell me which 4 of these you think should be done. But you could add to that and say, which of these parks do you think
Yes.
should be the next focus?
I think it needs to be narrowed down to that, because when you ask somebody, what do you want to see done? It's like, oh my
Well,
Lord, I don't know, I want this, and
I know,
that.
there's
So if you
options.
narrow
It's
it down to
multiple
the
choice.
park.
So just so you put a
It's-
grocery
well,
store in the
there
park,
you
Dr.
go.
Yeah.
or even
The qualifications are, it has to be visible, it has to be manageable, it has to be doable within 6 months, and it has to be cost effective, so
Okay.
that throws the grocery store out. So, so those bites are already laid out, plus there's an other box, so people can just express what they think is important in their community. So I think that may be one way to start to get at that, and then come together at the town hall and talk about it.
That's where you get the citizen engagement too, because you need
Well,
not
and
just the
Survey
businesses,
Monkey
but
too
the
is
people, yeah.
citizen
I
engagement.
think
John,
that's
you
a
have
good
a
idea.
great thing sitting there on the wall, a magic marker can cross through the date and it's updated.
Well, it's not, because half of it's gone.
2017. June 20th.
I mean, going back to corporate sponsorship, I think it's important that we do engage, and I think you guys are doing a great job engaging. It's almost like I feel like we need to have an inventory of what that particular business owner cares about. Because what this business owner cares about, this other business owner isn't going to give a flip about.
Right.
Right.
You know, so it's like, okay, so when we're ready to put a specifically something, you know, about parks forward, okay, these are the 5 guys that said they were interested in parks. Okay, what do they want to see accomplished? And kind of like you do with a grant, you say this grant is trying to, these people that want to give you money are trying to accomplish something. You then write a grant that shows them how you're going to accomplish what they want. You apply, you get their money, and you do it, right? Same thing with the corporation. You know, say, okay, you said you were interested in parks. This is the solution. Give me your money, and we'll make it happen. You know, so having an inventory of what's important to those business owners, I think, is crucial.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
good.
can definitely provide that to you. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we hiked yesterday with a business owner that
Yeah,
no
yeah, no,
have no problem
absolutely.
spending money on Ruffner Park and
Yeah.
anything on Ruffner. So
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that one of the ways that you get people involved is, you know, if you get, most grant givers want to see leverage. They want to see how their funds are being leveraged. They want to see where, so is the city invested? Are the citizens invested? So you can put all of those pieces together to come up with a way to get to a number to make things happen.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to say that I think we need to also make it personal to our city. You know, we want to see our city grow. We want to see children. We want to see our schools flourish. We want to see, you know, because that's going to bring the grocery store. And that's going to bring, and so if we make it personal to them, why do you want us to give you $50,000? This is why, because it's going to grow our city. It's going to be a positive. People are going to enjoy it. They're going to tell their friends, and they're going to tell their business partners, and they're going to say, you need to come to Irondale because they're growing, and we can see it. We can see it every day. And that's what they're going to be looking for. Okay, all right, rant's over.
But
not a problem.
you're right.
Y'all
That's
missed
right.
me, hadn't you?
But Donna, we're right. You're totally right. You're totally right. You're looking at 50,000. It's just $50,000, but it's about the city of Irondale. It's about our own brand. It's about
Not about
It's
anybody
about our
else.
citizens,
It's
and
about
it's
our
about
citizens,
them
about our
wanting to
people.
stay here and
That's right.
homestead
And
here,
move here.
and not just be a transient city.
Exactly.
And that, you know, and that something that we can be proud of. And I tell you, I've met the CEOs of Motion Industries and those guys, and they are awesome. And I'm telling you, they were so proud of that little park that they built, you know, for their employees up there. They had to show us, and I, you know, remember when we were Irondale on the move, and you know, they are very. I think that they would be the people that we need to go see first.
Right.
But I mean, that's just a thought, that we need to make it personal, that we need to tell them why we want it and what we're gonna do with it and what it's gonna accomplish, because that's what they're gonna know, you know.
Well, and to what Patricia said about leverage, let's leverage the fact that, I mean, Irondale is hot right now. If you look
Yes.
at news,
Yes.
the news media is coming to Irondale because there is some visible things going on. I mean,
Yes.
they see what's
Already,
going
yeah.
on at Mercedes, Maserati, they see what Price is doing. Well, let's leverage that because, you know, a lot of times people may say, well, I don't see anything happening. Well, if you ride around Irondale, you're gonna see that there's a lot going on. And we've gotta leverage that with that story of, you know, this is Irondale, we're moving, but here's some other things that we need your help on. So, I mean, we got new council, we got new mayor, we got a lot of fresh
And the
things going on.
council is so crucial.
Yeah.
You know, we can work and work and work and work, but when it goes to the council, they all need to be united and vote for it, because we'll never go anywhere, you know, and that's how we get fragmented.
Yeah,
You
and see,
know.
Donna, that, what you were talking about in terms of public engagement, the better that we can educate the community on what's going on,
Yes.
that helps all of, you think about who our city council people are and the backgrounds, and our
Yes.
mayor and the backgrounds that
Yes.
everybody has.
Yes.
Well, we have a lot of people that didn't run
I'm
for
so
office.
proud of 'em.
Right, but we have a lot of people that didn't run for office and are not in a leadership capacity, but they have some awesome backgrounds too.
Yes.
And you are able to properly articulate what's going on to them. They can understand it just like our awesome city council people can.
Right.
And when they understand it, now you have engaged people coming to City Hall instead of people saying, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
We can make that a much better landscape.
Yeah.
And when you have that, they can say yes to a lot more stuff than if everybody's coming in here ranting all the time.
That's true.
That's how we help our city council be a lot stronger, is by engaging the community in a way that they literally understand what's really going on.
I agree, and you know, and we need to nurture any relationships
Mm-hmm.
that are made. We have to nurture them, and that is whether it's sending letters, this is what we've done,
Right.
these are pictures, please come and see, we'd love to have you for lunch. You know, you have to nurture those
Right.
relationships,
Yeah.
and so,
And
Yeah.
Daryl and I are working on expanding the Business First program to something that everybody can come with us on.
yes,
It's not just about Daryl and I, because Daryl and I can't do it all.
right,
But we're talking about putting it together where you can have students that are interning in the Finance Academy, they come out and go out with us. You know,
exactly.
I mean,
So they'll
you-
know
They're
that
doing that
we're,
internship.
we're, you know, the career ed in our schools.
There you
So
go.
they'll be able to hire,
right.
you know, educated students that are graduating from our schools. I mean, they have no idea, I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
then we have a Visual Arts Academy
Yeah.
that can come out and take the photos and do video.
Yeah.
So we have resources that can handle what's necessary in order to push this the way it needs to be done.
When is your Survey Monkey due to go out?
It's due to go out this week,
And how long are you gonna let it sit out there for?
till the end of July.
So end of July. So end of July, we'll have some really good citizen
Right, and then,
engagement numbers.
and then on August 10th is the town hall.
Okay,
To then talk about it.
so next steps, curious to see what the people have to say.
Yeah, well, we can take a survey right here. I bet you 90%, 99% will say Ruffner.
I wouldn't.
You wanna say Ruffner?
Eller.
You would say Ruffner?
I think
I'm
at
not a
least,
That's the
sports
largest park
person,
in the city.
and our neighborhood is 90% 50 and older.
Okay,
And they don't have grandkids. My grandkids aren't here, so that's not a big
And that's where we fall short, I think, because we think about your age and we don't ever think about the young people.
Well, I
We're
wouldn't
trying
say
to
that.
get, we're
John,
trying to get.
I'm not sure I agree with you,
Well,
because
let me
but the
finish this thought.
demographics,
Let me finish this thought.
okay.
So I think, because you just said it, I didn't say it. You're thinking there, but see, I'm thinking you, above you, and below you. Because I'm thinking 30 years from now, probably none of us in this room will be here.
Well, that
Degrees
park's
out.
gonna look
I mean,
different
yeah.
30 years from now too.
You are, but I'll stay.
Honestly,
You may not be here tomorrow.
Right. Honestly,
We might be here
Rutger
tomorrow.
Park,
What I'm saying is, if you don't do anything to it now,
yeah. I mean, honestly, Rutger Park is our biggest bang for
it's
the
our
buck.
biggest, it's our biggest bang for the
It's
buck.
our living room.
It's
Yeah,
not,
right.
it's not Eller,
Right.
it's Ruffner, that's our biggest bang.
Yeah, that would be the biggest bang for our buck
That's gonna
if we
attract,
had
that's
some
gonna
type
attract
of,
businesses downtown.
yeah,
That's gonna
recreational
attract-
center.
Recreational center, that's gonna attract neighborhoods, that's gonna attract a lot of things.
It's where the Red Rock Trail is coming into.
And everything's coming right there, so
Yeah.
that, it's our
Ruffner
biggest bang
Mountain
for our
Nature
buck, is
Reserve.
Ruffner, right now.
I think Ellard's an easy win.
It's an
Yes.
easy,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
I
an
think
easy
Ellard's a
win.
really, really, really easy win, and
Yeah.
it could be a sign of commitment. You go in there and do just some small things to Ellard. You can change the utilization completely.
But you can't put a, you can't put a football field there.
Can't put a football field there,
No,
but there's a lot of
you're
things you can
spending
do.
$30,000 on a dog park.
Yeah, a
That you're
dog
renting.
park would have been great.
Yeah.
But
at
that's-
Put a
Ellard.
dog park at Ellard.
Ellard would
Yeah.
have been the
Yeah.
perfect place for
But
a
that,
dog
that
park.
could, that, you're probably right.
But I'll
but
tell you
still,
this,
you can't go there
something has
No,
to
I
be done to Ruffner.
I
with
agree.
lights, because the city is fixing to be in a situation where they're gonna have no option. If there's gonna be play on the fields over there,
Exactly.
all of the wiring,
So we can say,
underground
Eller.
and everything is to
I think
the top of the
Ellard's
pole
only. I
is
think
gonna have to be
Ellard's a
replaced.
tactical win, a short, easy flip to show interest in the revitalization of parks. I still agree with you. I think Ruffner is probably the priority.
So what's our goal? Here's the thing, what's our goal when we talk about redoing our park? What's our main goal?
Ruffner was for
Is it for
the,
dog park or is for economic
Well,
development?
I think that's what the citizens, I think that's
Yeah.
the reason to get impact from the citizens, because then I think we find out more about what our demographics are.
I don't think all the citizens know though that the city is renting that park.
Oh, I
They
know
think the
that.
city owns the park,
That's right.
because they're always calling, wanting us to do stuff there,
We don't really.
and we're just renting it, and they're not aware of that.
But I know people that come from Hoover that use our dog park because it is such.
But with
long-
Ellard, that
just the
flat top
design.
surface,
Oh,
Well, and
gosh,
you-
yeah.
you would have had a level
great.
ground
The whole piece
for
of
the
it-
dogs and the agility toys and stuff for the dogs. It would, and there was water already up there on the
Yeah.
field, 2 spigots. It would have been a perfect place, a perfect location to put up just a
Well, we don't have to
residential
keep paying
fence
rent, I wouldn't
Yeah,
think, if we
so-
could fix it up.
and some agility toys for the
There's a
dogs.
possibility
And
to buy it.
The park down
I
there.
mean, we've already paid for it and then some, but,
Well, what I say, why do we quit paying rent and fix our own that we do actually own?
yeah, well, I think what Patricia said, I mean, even if we did the master plan for parks, guess what the first step is gonna be? Visioning. It's going out
You've
to
gotta
the
get
community
community
and asking them what they want, so
Right.
we're kind
I
of doing
agree.
that piece now. I mean, the master plan for parks county is very similar to the comprehensive plan, and what was the first thing we did? We sent out surveys, we went to each district and we asked people what they wanted, and then that's when the RPC started putting together all the statistics behind it, so I think we're going in the right direction.
With the dog park, that might be a way to say, you
Put the
know,
dog park on there.
that we're not, that we're
It's a
renting,
park.
that would you be interested, you know, in the city having a dog park, you know, owning it?
And a lot of times dog parks are closed at night anyways. So,
That was
I
what I
mean,
thought.
you've got that, but I still think you can make a huge dramatic improvement at Ruffner. You know, I think it's a massive program. I think it ties into what's going on with Ruffner Mountain Preserve. I think there's a lot of opportunity around that specific. I think it's a huge project, and I think it's a great opportunity. I think you can I definitely think that deserves a tremendous amount of consideration. I think Ellard's a very easy tactical win as far as generating, but I would be very curious to see what the people have to say about that.
And
That's
don't
just-
underestimate Ellard, because there are so many people that were just so upset just over us removing that 100-year-old slide that was steel, that was hotter, you could fry
My
an
baby
egg
girl
on it.
still has a scar on her leg.
Because there's so many children that live on the north side, I'm sure, that come down there. And like, I agree with David, it's an easy fix. It's not a multi-million-dollar project.
1 month
Little
of
things
rent
mean
would
a
take
lot.
care of it.
Just
1
decide
month
what we
of
want.
rent would take. would
The
you
lower,
imagine?
the lower side of
Yeah.
Ellard, you
Dog
could
park,
put the
you mentioned
playground
earlier,
back where
splash
the other used to be, put the playground on the bottom, the
Yes.
dog
And
park
Love
up
the
on
word splash
top.
pad, don't
And
I?
if you have some of the wooded area,
We
then
do
you
have that
incorporate
wooded
that
area.
into the dog park because it's huge.
Is it
in dog
shady
park.
up
If,
there?
if, right at
You
the
got-
last
It can be if
picnic
you go
table,
into the
I
woods.
mean, it's a.
when you go in, the last picnic table on the right beside that picnic table, if you go up in the edge of the woods there, there's cross ties
Okay.
that go up through there. That used to be a walking trail up through there.
Oh, cool.
And-
If anybody knows, she does.
And you got three major corporations right there,
Right next to
Norfolk
it.
Southern,
Yes.
Floyd, and don't forget Steve Johnson Racing at the end of that road
That's
on
correct.
And it forces people to come up to that downtown area
Yeah.
because you're not through there.
So, and some of these
Doggy
things, we may
park,
be,
come to
you
the
know, it may not be
food
one
over
thing at a
here.
time, we may be working on multiple things at a time, put together
Yeah.
small teams that's
Yeah.
working on multiple things at a time.
I'm
At
not
each
saying
time.
this
this is-
is-
this is-
I'm
this is-
just saying first, my
Yeah.
first priority would have been Ellen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it-
but
it-
we
it-
said earlier, and we just said a dog park, but earlier we said splash pad.
Yeah, I
But there
mean,
is
whether
room
a
for that,
splash pad
too.
has, could be, if the dog park is what's said is, decided is the best thing for Ellard, does dog park splash pad combination work? I don't know. It'd have to see like how it would be designed. I could see good things there. I could see a lot of bad things there.
The Dream
But-
Dog Park down in Alabaster,
Yeah.
which they wrote a grant for and got a buku of money,
Yeah.
has a dog splash pad in it. Just so you
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
Okay.
that's awesome.
Fair enough.
The
The
dog
dogs
park
can
up at
go.
Ellard would be a quick win.
That's what I'm saying. 1 month's worth of rent would
Put some
dramatically
fences around it.
And I think
transform
you
that
would
whole
get,
park.
you would get a lot of support from the community
And put some
putting it
swings
out
up
there.
I like
It's
a
easy.
splash
Make
pad
it
at
pretty,
Ruffner
make it
Mountain
charming.
Park.
Looks to
Yeah,
the
you don't
Ruffner
use
Park. I think you could take a look at how many fields are there? 6, 7 fields?
Too many.
Too
Too
many. They're not
Yeah.
being utilized.
Size
you got
it
a
down.
tremendous amount of real estate,
Too many.
that's out there. I think you've got rooms for covered basketball courts. You got room for splash pad. You got room for a lot of facility. Keep some of the diamonds.
Add
Do
some parking.
something else with the other parts. I think a splash pad probably fits in better at Ruffner Park than it would at Ellard if Ellard became a dog park.
It
But-
would
and
give
it
the
allows
smaller
you-
children
Ruffner-
something to do while Big Brother and
Hey,
Big
you gonna
Sister
put
play
Ellen on
ball.
there also?
And right there.
I'm gonna
by
put all the
picnic
parks on there and
Yeah.
let people choose which one they
Perfect.
think.
I think that's a good way to
Ruffner
go.
Park started off
That's
a good way to go.
with one field when I was a
Right.
kid. And they added fields as they went along, and it would just put up where there was an open space. I mean, the last one they put up, they had to cut down part of the mountain to
Right.
get in there.
Go 6.
All that stuff needs to be torn down, because I know that first field's older now, because it was there when I was a kid. Needs to be torn down, and I go with my grandkids to the ballparks, and they got one central, concession stand,
Right.
restroom, and people that handle the scoreboard right in the middle in one building. And then all the parks are built around it, and I see towns with less than 2,000 people that's got those things constructed in them, and in cities smaller than ours and I don't see any reason why we couldn't do the same thing. We just need to find the money
And I
to
think if-
build that.
I think a family park is an interesting tie-in to Ruffner because if you've got the mountain there and you're hiking and then you've got a splash pad for after you get done
Holy
hiking,
smokes, that'll be amazing.
is a really cool idea.
Shay,
And you've got playground equipment for your kids after, before hiking and picnic tables
That's
and
right.
that sort of stuff.
I agree.
Shay built he's got 2 fields over there in very close to where 84 Lumber is.
Mhm.
And he might be willing to give up some money to help build one, because he's got daughters that
Well,
play.
that's exactly right. They've been here forever. But, the parking is better at Ruffner for a splash pad, because I'm telling you, if we build it, y'all build it, they'll come.
Put splash pad on the news, and it's just.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
You'd have-
But don't let a kid poop in it.
yeah. Was that
Because then you're on
movie
the
or
news
was
for
it
the
Pell
whole
City?
other-
Irondale.
Yeah, there you go.
Irondale.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, I think, yeah.
But, that's a given. I'm just telling you.
Oh, it's
With
gonna
kids,
happen.
that's a given.
It-
It's gonna happen,
happen.
Well, I try not to hold the meeting long.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
But one day, come out of this meeting, Les, you and I get together, what I'd like to do is start a advisory committee for this. Talk about all the things that we talked about tonight. And Les and I've been doing some research on that, so we'll get together and see how we can form that.
This
That
was
way,
good, but-
like, instead of you and myself and doing all the work, we can have some people, more people involved.
I think that's crucial.
Yeah, more people involved, to get involved with the advisory committee and talk about it. And y'all can do some research and bring it back to the committee. Okay? All right, thank y'all. Good meeting, great, awesome, thank you.